Next, we'll be exploring reasons to teach written syllable patterns, and we'll be clarifying how those syllable spellings differ, whether it's in writing or in speech. And we'll be explaining whether and how English spellings work within predictable correspondence systems like English. We'll also outline the components of a multilinguistic approach to phonics and spelling instruction. What we've been doing throughout this week is building up to having multiple ways for students to approach reading and understanding unknown words in print. We've previously discussed the structure of spoken syllables. Now we'll explore written syllables and how they're different. Try saying the words bridle and riddle. The natural breaks in the spoken words are the same, bridle and riddle. The written syllable patterns, however, indicate the vowel sounds in the first syllables. Students can't rely only on pronouncing the words to know how to divide syllables in writing. Syllable chunks in writing are a contrivance of scholars, as Louisa Moats says. They help sound out longer unknown words, but they don't correspond to the natural syllable breaks in spoken words. In speaking, we tend to attach consonant phonemes to the beginning of the next syllable instead of saying them right after the vowel. Riddle. Linguists call this the maximal onset rule. We naturally break our voice after the vowel sound. The print conventions for spelling syllables pertain to orthography, not to speech. They help indicate the vowel sound in the syllable. It's helpful to teach students this information. There are 6 types of written syllables that are generally recognized and taught to students. Keep in mind that these are written patterns, not sound patterns like we discussed previously. The closed syllable pattern is one vowel followed by one or more consonant letters. This is VC or CVC. This pattern signals the short vowel sound. The VCE pattern signals that the vowel sound should represent its long sound. Open syllables follow the pattern CV, and the vowel also is said as the long vowel sound, like in the words he and me. There are a variety of vowel teams or combinations, such as AI, AY, EA, etc. These can be pronounced as short or long vowel sounds, or diphthongs, as in the case of oi. We discussed the vowel R pattern when we covered the vowel sound chart. As a written syllable, these include AR, ER, and IR. The consonant LE pattern is one consonant letter followed by LE. The vowel sound is L, as in stable. The value in teaching written syllable types to students is helping them have a strategy for correctly determining the sound the vowel in that syllable makes. Here is a representation of how the spelling patterns in syllables indicate the vowel sounds. Learning these conventions helps students spell, but also helps them read accurately, which contributes to reading comprehension. Once students can decode the word, they must know what the word means. We can't wait to teach word meanings until decoding is in place. This is why the simple view and the rote model represent the simultaneous building of decoding and vocabulary. Let's try sorting these words into the 6 written syllable types. The first word is me. What pattern is represented in the word me? The second word is face. The third word is float. The fourth word, brush. The next word is form. And then finally, table. Each one is representative of one of the different written syllable types. Let's see if you sorted these correctly. Written syllable division is different than spoken syllable division. When syllables have two adjacent consonants between them, we would divide between the consonants. The first syllable will be closed with a short vowel sound. In VCV patterns, one consonant between two vowels, first try dividing after the vowel and reading the syllable with the long vowel sound. If that doesn't work, try the short vowel sound. When there are three consonants between the vowels, students can be taught to look for blends because those blends tend to stick together when dividing syllables. Again, keep in mind that the reason to teach these principles to students is so they will have insight into the vowel sound and be more likely to accurately decode unfamiliar multisyllable words they encounter while reading. There are some rules that can be taught to students about adding suffixes to words when a one-syllable word with one vowel ends with one consonant. Double the final consonant when adding a suffix that begins with a vowel. Think of the word rig and rigging. When a root word ends in a silent E, drop the E when adding a suffix that begins with a vowel. When a root ends with a Y preceded by a consonant, change the Y to I when adding a suffix that begins with a vowel. Here is a basic instructional routine for reading multisyllable words. Students can be taught this routine starting in 2nd or 3rd grade. The steps of the routine can be used to read words such as fantastic. Once students know the routine, they have an effective strategy for reading unknown words that they will encounter in any content area reading. Of course, learning morphology, vocabulary, and syntax will also help with decoding and therefore with comprehension. English is more predictable than some might think. Although phonics and decoding are essential, it's not only about learning phonics. The aspects of language are all important: phonology, orthography, morphology, and knowing the language of origin of a word helps as well. When students are taught all of this information gradually and explicitly over time, they come to see that English is much more predictable than some people claim. On page 126 of the Speech to Print book, Dr. Moats provides this table listing the multiple ways of knowing a word. The layers of language are ways to support students to learn words. There are multiple points of analysis. When teachers can know words from all of these different angles, they can become really effective reading teachers. The spellings and meanings of words will make more sense to students when they have this information. So far, we have explored the phonological and orthographic aspects of language and a little bit about morphology. Here is a framework for a lesson that moves students from phonology to phoneme grapheme mapping, to reading and spelling the word, to practicing the learned patterns in controlled decodable text, and ultimately writing about reading. This lesson format is one that can be used over time and across multiple grade levels. This might be something to look for when you're selecting instructional materials.